And it's not itself a substance that does anything. It's like a hormone whisperer.
And so when he says it's a hormone whisperer, it's not actually a whisper. It's more of a person screaming and shouting like Coach Greg, saying, make more. It's a...
MK677 sounds like some kind of research chemical developed in one of the moons of Saturn.
And that's because it is a research chemical. And by that, I mean for research use only, not for humans. And to call it the gains pill, it's making everybody want it. And I've already watched the video and I've concluded that now there's 300,000 people have seen this. Almost 300,000 people are going to think that this is perfectly okay, that it's not really all that dangerous, that it's far better than most other performance-enhancing drugs, and that they might in fact want to use it. And so I want to explain my own experience, the experience I've had with people that I've coached who've used this, and show you the true dangers of this gains pill. And so rather than the gains pill, I feel a better name would be pancreatic poison. And by that, I mean it's slowly killing your pancreas, as in the beta cells will no longer be with you. And once those beta cells are gone, they don't come back. And so the beta cells are what makes insulin. And once you've lost 50% of those, you now have, guess what? Type 2 diabetes.
And I tried it a while ago and it shocked me. Scott, it shocked me in a way that I found confusing to my sexuality. Did you know that?
I don't know if he's kidding about this, but I didn't know it did anything sexually. However, it does increase prolactin, which is essentially a female hormone. And so perhaps it made him a little bit more womanly.
And it was initially created to try to be a drug that pharmaceutical companies would sell to fight age-related muscle loss, but it never passed through the approval trials because it had a few quirks about it that weren't that great.
And so, unfortunately, they were hoping it would be able to be used by humans, but after testing this out, they realized it had too many dangers, too many negative side effects, and so it's no longer used. And so he's saying that this drug, MK677, causes side effects, as in it's on the side. You know, for example, with a side chick, it's on the side over there. But this is happening directly from MK677. In other words, it's happening from your woman. And so those side effects are not side effects, they're direct effects from MK677, as in it's exactly what it's supposed to do. MK677 is going to reduce the beta cells from your pancreas directly. That's what it does. It also increases ghrelin, but to a huge degree. And also don't forget about the fact that it causes you to gain a lot of water weight. This is from sodium retention. This is going to increase your blood pressure and make you bloated and puffy and a watery mess. And so, yeah, it's going to help you gain weight, but is it the weight that you're going to want? A lot of water retention, fluid retention. You basically look like you're on D-ball, hungry all the time. And so a lot of the weight that you're gaining, it's actually body fat as well as water. And so what MK677 is doing is it's making your body think that it's starving, despite the fact that you're not, despite the fact you're eating plenty of sugar, carbohydrates, and so on. It thinks that you're not. And so what's happening is the body is going through gluconeogenesis, where the liver is producing more sugar. And this increased sugar is what's leading to you eventually getting diabetes. And so when you're using MK677, your body is already making a ton of sugar. You're consuming even more sugar because you're hungrier, and you're having your beta cells dying, literally. And so what do you think will result? And if you think that this doesn't happen, there are literally several case reports of this happening in a matter of weeks or months. And if it doesn't happen that quickly, it can happen years down the road. And so we have one case, a 34-year-old used MK677 for only 3 weeks and developed type 2 diabetes from that. Another case, a 47-year-old used MK for 3 months, developed type 2 diabetes. The list goes on and on. And so I just want to be clear that it definitely increases the risk of having diabetes or pre-diabetes. If you get your blood work taken, you have your fasting blood sugar. If it's borderline high, or if it actually is high, well, you're probably going to get diabetes very soon, especially if you continue.
And it's not itself a substance that does anything. It's like a hormone whisperer.
And so when he says it's a hormone whisperer, it's not actually a whisper. It's more of a person screaming and shouting like Coach Greg, saying, make more. It's a super ghrelin agonist. It's screaming from the top of his lungs. It's doing it so much that it's actually bad. And so when I'm reading, it nudges your existing endocrine system rather than adding in outside hormones. It's not really nudging it. It's not saying, hey, here's a gentle tap. It's pushing it into the deep end.
Because that receptor fires a message to the pituitary gland and says, psst, more growth hormone, please. And it sure as shit does that. But it also hits that entire hunger cascade. So it will absolutely make you starve.
And so one of the downfalls or the negatives, in my opinion, of MK677 is in fact the hunger, because most people who are taking this, they don't want to get fat. They want to get muscles, but they don't want to be fat, and they don't want high blood pressure, and they don't want to look like a puffy marshmallow. And so when I was coaching people or when I was taking it myself, I couldn't take it within 8 weeks of competition. The hunger cravings were just too much. For the most part, women, they hated this because they never looked as lean, and most people, they want to actually look good. And so for perhaps the 5% of people out there who are under eating and they need an increased appetite in order to put on more muscle, perhaps for them it could be a benefit despite the side effects. But for everyone else, the vast majority of people, people who walk around with double-digit body fat, they're not walking around shredded, guys like Tristan Lee, for example. For most people, the problem of putting on more muscle isn't the fact that they're not eating enough, it's that they haven't trained long enough or they don't have the genetics.
Now, this has nothing to do with your testosterone levels. So because it hits that growth hormone pathway, it doesn't mess with your testosterone. It doesn't do anything to your testes.
And so I do believe that one of the reasons so many people take this drug, especially amongst teenagers, it's oftentimes the gateway drug to using SARMs and then steroids, is because it's first an oral and it doesn't shut down your body's production of testosterone. And so many people are thinking, well, this is the hack. I can take this. I'm not going to have lower levels of testosterone. My balls are not going to get smaller. I won't have any suppression. And so why not take MK677? And when you see young people who, for example, get their blood work done and they say, see, I'm 100% natural, look at my normal testosterone levels, the drug that they're taking very often is MK677.
Now, your boy literally just was like, hey, I'm going to try this and see if it works. But I had no idea that it acted through the ghrelin pathway. I had no idea it caused hunger.
And so you're going to tell me that Mike Israetel took this experimental drug and had no idea that it made you hungrier. How is that possible? Mike Israetel has a PhD. He's a smart guy. He reads about everything. He's also a bodybuilder. How is it possible he didn't know? It took me all of 4 minutes to know everything about it before I'd ever taken it for the very first time. And so, do you all believe that he simply took this drug and later on read up about it? I want to use MK677. I don't know any of the side effects. I don't know what it can do. I don't know the bad. I just think it might work. And so I'm going to take it and then later I'll see what it does. I simply don't believe it.
If you don't track your rest times, you have a tendency to scroll on your phone, flirt with the girls, flirt with the guys, flirt with grandma, flirt with grandpa, get yourself into orgies, typical gym stuff.
And so if he's telling the truth that he didn't have any clue, I don't know if that says a good thing or a bad thing. I believe that before you ever take anything, you should be an expert on it. And so if you're a woman, a man, it doesn't matter. The Rock knows it doesn't matter. But if they're telling you to take a performance-enhancing drugs, please do your research and find out more about it. Oh, take Anavar. You take the Anavar, and 3 months later, you now have a very deep voice and you're growing facial hair. And you're thinking, well, why is that? Well, did you not read up on it of nothing? You didn't do any research whatsoever. You just took it and said, I'm hoping for the best. If you take a drug, please learn more about it.
I woke up in the middle of the night to go pee like I always do. And I was like, I'm kind of hungry. What the hell is going on? And then that just got more intense as the week progressed.
And so for most people, when I was taking it, coaching people, would tell them to take it before bed. That way you could sleep through the hunger. He's explaining how he was waking up hungry. And so it is something to think about, and you do need to be careful.
The bad news is that you're going to want to eat lots of comfort food, mashed potatoes and gravy.
And so I think everybody already knows that when you're getting hungry, you're not hungry for broccoli. It's not a pill that makes you change your cravings. I've never heard of such pill.
I took this pill and it made me crave only chicken, broccoli, and rice.
That doesn't happen. When you're hungry, you're hungry. You're hungry for anything. There's no specific magic hunger that makes you crave just protein, crave just fiber. You're hungry. You're hungry.
If you already have a big problem controlling your appetite, even on a muscle gain phase, this is not the drug for you.
And so he's warning you. If you have trouble with your hunger, this is not the drug for you. Mike Israetel clearly has trouble with his hunger. He used to be obese when he was younger. He had done those previous bulks. When he does compete, he's not lean as he should be. And so this is a horrible choice of PED if you have trouble getting shredded, which is almost everyone.
I tried this drug while I was on 5 milligrams of tirzepatide.
And so Mike is saying he's on tirzepatide at 5 milligrams and he's still having a difficult time sticking to his diet. And that's because the MK677 is making him hungrier. And so if you're out there and you're not happy with your condition, you wish you were leaner, it is absolutely not the drug for you.
Folks that undereat on an attempt to gain muscle number in the millions in the world. It's a real thing. Some people just cannot eat enough to gain weight, especially if they're quite large already.
And so when he says there's a lot of people out there that undereat and attempt to gain muscle, by that he means out of, for example, tens or hundreds of millions of people that do it, there's a lot. There's thousands. But there's not a lot as a percentage. 95% of people who are lifting weights are not struggling to eat enough calories. 95% are struggling to eat few enough calories to not become overweight. That is most often the problem. And so many people have heard Rich Piana say, for example, eat big to get big. But the problem is you eat big, you get big and fat.
You gotta eat big to get big. You guys heard me say this a million fucking times, but I'm saying it again.
And so if you want to be leaner, and so for example, we take Mike Israetel, I believe he said he was 12% body fat and he wants to be leaner. Remember, he has very lean quads, but he's not happy with the body fat in his upper body. I mean, he literally has just said he wants to get liposuction and skin surgery to remove fat in his triceps so he can see his delt better.
Future surgeries for Mike. Probably gonna get skin removal here to get clear shoulder lines. I carry a lot of fat there.
He's had liposuction and skin removal surgery for his waist.
Well, there it is. Dude. RCO Fuck, that's gnarly.
And so if he eats more food from being hungrier from taking MK, it's going to increase his body fat and he's not going to like it. And so if you don't want to gain body fat, if you don't want to look bloated, to look watery, to have increased blood pressure, or to burn through your beta cells, what you can't get back, this is not the drug for you. And so remember, MK677 is going to likely increase your blood pressure. And this includes your supine blood pressure, which is when you're laying down on your back, which is very, very bad. Think of it. You're laying in bed, you have high blood pressure, you can increase your risk of stroke, other problems. And so once you come off, this can actually lead to orthostatic hypotension, which is when you stand up real quick and you get lightheaded and you get a bit dizzy and you have to sit back down. And so it is a real problem to think about. And remember, this can also happen when you get diabetes. And so please be careful.